Today in Woburn. I'm your host, Samantha Stone, and we have a jam-packed episode this week. We missed last week because of the holiday, so we've got lots of great stuff to catch up on this week. First up, as always, is Mayor Concannon. Welcome, Mike.
Hi, Samantha. How are you?
I'm good. It was a nice weekend. The sun shined a little bit yesterday, so got to enjoy
Shining quite
that.
a bit today.
Yeah, it's warm out
Beautiful day.
too. Nice
Yeah,
day to
it's
get some
supposed to
walks in
be
around town.
60, I think, by Wednesday.
Welcome
Be
to New
nice.
England, right?
Yeah,
Ice and
I'll
then
take it.
60.
Sunshine doesn't cost us money like snow does.
That's right. Oh, but good point. That's a good point. I like that. We have a lot going on. And one of the things that we did today was start the promotion of our citywide kindness day. And there's lots of great information. We'll talk in a lot more detail about it as we get closer to the event. But one of the reasons we did that is because we wanted to create something that a lot of different nonprofit organizations in our community could rally behind, and we could collaborate with people together as sort of part of our campaign to drive a culture of service across Woburn, which you talked a lot about during the campaign, and I know has been important to you. Why do you feel it's important for us to bring in others as we, go about this effort and the role that they play in helping us create that culture?
Sure. As you said, I did talk a lot about this during the campaign, and in the last, 8 weeks or so, we've been really focusing a lot on the notion of service and also community. And it's really important for us to reiterate that the sense of community here in Woburn and the sense of service involves everybody. There is only so much that city government can do, and we're trying to maximize that and do our best. But so much of what makes Woburn special is done by nonprofits, service clubs, and private groups. So as we're focusing on service and we're focusing on helping others in general, it's only natural that we would want to bring in and work closer with all of these various people who want to help. So the idea, as you know, because you're the prime mover and shaker on this, the idea of Kindness Day is to just try to highlight all the wonderful things that are currently happening in our city, and to also maybe reinvigorate, revitalize, and cause others to want to join in and maybe make it even better and do even more. So I'm really excited about the notion of Kindness Day. It's actually a simple thing, but it has the potential to cascade throughout the city and into all sorts of different areas. So I think it's definitely something worth doing, and I think we're going to see a positive impact from it. And most of that impact is likely to come from non-governmental entities, which is great.
Yeah, I'm really excited about how many people have been wanting to participate with us. So we'll talk a lot more about it as we get closer to March 20th. But it's been really rewarding getting so many people rallied around a single thing and a single day. And to your point, not a complex day. Lots of ways that people can do this, and easy ways to participate. One of the other things that was really important during your campaign and during the discussions we've had is transparency of government and making sure people understand what we're doing. And one of the ways that we've tried to do that is we've recently launched the city's first Facebook page. Departments in the city have had one for a long time. We have a really well established police one, for example. There's one for the library, but there were a lot of functions that weren't covered on that. I would just ask you to sort of talk a little bit about why you think it's important for residents to join that and use it as just another place to get information.
Right, and you're correct in describing it as another place. The goal is to have all sorts of options and ways for people to find out where they might find services to help them, and also where to find events that are coming up that they can participate in. So we have been focusing a lot on transparency and communication and coordination and simply getting the word out. We've got the Facebook page, which is great. There's a certain demographic, and I think I'm looking at the group on today's show. It's probably us.
It's definitely not my children.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to have a TikTok site anytime soon, but I think Facebook is a pretty good place for us to connect with a whole lot of our end users of our services. So I think it is important to have a presence there. The City of Woburn website, we're working on getting more and more information out there as well. We had a town hall last week. It was well attended and in person and on Zoom. And I think any number of ways to get the word out, that the more the better. And the Facebook page, I think, is a great place to see what's happening. We try to have some advance notice on events that are coming up. We try to post, some nice interactions with members of the public who come into City Hall and visit the mayor's office. So I think it's a place to check, maybe once a day and see what's happening. In addition to all those other resources that are out there, just to try to get the word out. That's been the goal from day one.
Yeah, we got a lot of calls last week that there were a bunch of folks who were a little bit surprised about trash not being delayed for President's Day. And I thought we get enough inquiries and questions about it that it was worth you just spending a minute talking about why we didn't have a trash delay.
Yeah, I had the same question at my house. I wasn't sure whether to put it out or not. Typically when there's a Monday holiday, trash gets pushed back a day and we all just adapt to that. And usually we take it for granted, but in this case, the contract with our provider, Waste Management, we follow their schedule, and this particular holiday wasn't a holiday for their workforce. So we did not have trash delayed. We went forward with the regular schedule. And I think for the most part, you'll find that the Monday holidays, they are delayed. But, we will endeavor to get the word out even earlier when we know that's the case. And we'll do it through that Facebook site, through the city website, through all the different mechanisms we have. But if folks have any question at all, they can always call the Board of Health. They can call here in the mayor's office and we can try to get them those answers in advance so they can plan and prepare. And I will say that it can't happen every single time, but if there's a time when trash doesn't get picked up in your neighborhood or there's an issue, we do try to assist with that after the fact. It's not something we can do every single time. We have a contract with certain parameters, but in the off chance that we didn't make it down to your street or there was a glitch, we do try to rectify those as quickly as possible too. So we are trying to be user-friendly, as is our provider, Waste Management.
Yeah. And, just so folks know, all of the holiday schedule is already up on the website and in the trash. So we do try and remind people about it. But those holidays are preset. And, like these guys, this team works hard. It's mostly men, but I'm sure there are some women who collect as well. So when I said guys, that's why. But if they don't pick up on their normal schedule, they have to work a Saturday, right? Because the trash still gets picked up. It's not like we skip a day and a group of people don't get their trash that week. And that doesn't happen. So all those dates are out there. Definitely take a look on the home page of the website. There's an alert if we are delayed. So it's really obvious that it's there if there's ever a question. In my household, I got asked many, many times, and I kept reminding them that I published the alert updates in the city's communication. So I knew what I was talking about, even if my family didn't want to believe me.
Yeah.
So I know that feeling. Speaking of trash, not that we're going to spend all of our time today talking about garbage, although it is important, but we do get a lot of, on windy days, there are a lot of people who use the old recycle bins. They were sort of little open topped bins that people used to collect. And I think the city gave them out, or they were easy to get at some point. And what happens on windy days is that we get a lot of litter gets thrown around the community. And generally speaking, people throw their papers or their plastic jugs and they're light items that are easy to travel. What guidance do you want to give people? What should they be doing instead?
Sure, I do that at home. I have the small blue bucket that's open topped. We always try to make sure we put something heavy on top when we use those buckets, but it happens and you hate to see the trash blowing around the neighborhood. We are in the process, and I've mentioned this recently, of renegotiating our trash contract. Current provider is Waste Management, and we're looking at options there. And as we do that, we're also looking at whether it's time for Woburn to consider different types of bins. Pretty much standard bins you see across the neighboring communities. We haven't taken that step yet. There's a cost involved, and we're definitely considering whether it's time for Woburn to do that. And I think what you might end up seeing is a trash bin and then a recycling bin. The covers are heavy, they close. That would help to eliminate that windy day trash problem that we sometimes have to deal with. That's one of the considerations in the contract negotiation. At the end of the day, it comes down to what's the best deal for the citizens, what's the most efficient use of our tax dollars. But it's definitely something we're looking at through this process.
Great. And also, just as a reminder, if people don't know this, you can get a free recycling sticker from the Board of Health and put it on any bin. So I have a couple of bins that I've just purchased, regular trash cans with the lids on them, and we use a lot of garbage and recycling apparently in my house. So I have several of those bins.
That's a good point. And we have those stickers at the Board of Health. We have some here at the mayor's office. Oh. You're right. They could use a standard trash barrel with a cover and put that sticker on it, and it will be taken care of.
Excellent. Last question for you, Mayor. We had a couple people who were had U.S. Census people come to the door, and I understand some hesitation for answering the door to a stranger. They weren't really sure. We know the census data is really important. I thought it would be helpful for you to explain why that's so important for people to participate in that process.
Sure, and I don't blame people for being concerned if a stranger walks up to the door. These folks should have proper ID. They should be coming during normal business hours. But to your point, it is important that we get counted in the census, because so much of the federal money that comes back to the states and the cities is based on the census, as is our representation in Congress. We're in a point where we're fighting for as much representation as we can get in Washington. And of course, that leads to those funds coming back. So counting every person really does matter. So we would ask that folks do participate and cooperate with the census takers so that every one of us is counted and we get the biggest bang back from DC.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to talk about elections next. So I'm going to ask Lindsay to join us.
Great.
Hello.
Hi, welcome, Lindsay, our city clerk. We're so excited to be coming up against election season. I know you're incredibly busy right now, so I want to extra thank you for just taking a few minutes out to chat with us. We do have the presidential primary election coming up, and I know there's a bunch of important dates. I thought I'd just give you a chance to kind of remind us of some of those that are upcoming.
Sure. One reason I'm actually in the city council chamber right now is because my office and the committee room are full thrust into election mode right now. So it was a little busy in the, for me to have a meeting. So I came into here. So you might hear my voice echo a little bit. So we have some deadlines. The deadline has already passed. There was this past Saturday to register to vote or to change your party affiliation for the upcoming election. However, for mail-in ballots, the vote by mail, you've probably seen the commercials from the Secretary of the Commonwealth, Galvin, talking about vote by mail. The deadline is tomorrow at 5 p.m., Tuesday, the February 27th. So we will get those applications in, and we've been sending out a lot of mail out ballots. We've already sent out well over 4,000 ballots, and we've received over 2,000 back so far. And then March 4th is another big deadline, the day before the election. The last day to do an in-person absentee ballot in our office is noon, which is a typical deadline before an election. And then obviously on March 5th is Super Tuesday, people call it. So it's Super Tuesday in Woburn from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. at your local election facilities. We are going through early vote in person. Since this is a state presidential primary, we are going through that up at the old Wyman School, which is on the corner of Eaton Ave, Main Street and Eaton Ave, the old castle. Out back is the entrance on Newberry Street. So you can go there for the remainder of the week, Tuesday and Wednesday, 9 to 4:30. Thursday 9 to 7 and Friday 9 to 1.
Thank you. We know how hard the team works to make all of us available, to make voting as easy as possible, so anybody can find a way to vote and participate in the process who's registered. So thank you for doing that and all the work that goes into that. Now, there are a whole bunch of things on the ballot. There's definitely the presidential primaries, but there's a couple of other things as well. Where can people see those sample ballots?
So we have sample, we call them specimen ballots too. So the specimen sample ballots are right here in City Hall in the rotunda. They start in the rotunda and they kind of go by our office and loop around. In smaller elections, we can usually just put them right outside our office, but we have 3 ballot styles for each ward. So there's a opportunity for Democratic, Republican, and Libertarian is the third party we have. So they're here at City Hall. They're also online. If you click the city clerk's link through the departments channel on our website, and you hit elections, you can find a link for all our information for the presidential election.
Thank you. I saw them online today. I was looking up some of the ward committee candidates. So thank you for letting us know where we can find those. My last question for you is, I know we did voting machine testing. We've begun that process. What does that entail?
So that's why we're so busy today. We were doing the voting machine testing today in the committee room. We basically take all of our election tabulators, our machines, and we put them out and we run test ballots through them to make sure that they're running and functioning properly. We do this, we have so many days before the election, we have to do it. And we do this to ensure that our machines are up and running. Also, if there's an issue, then we can fix it before the election. The state requires us to do that. And we send we get printouts of the tapes, just like at the end of the night, and we send them to the state for their records.
Fantastic, Lindsay. Thank you so much. I'll let you get back to all that hard work that's going on. Thanks for taking time out to speak with us.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Vote March 5th, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Fantastic. Lots of stuff going on across the city. I'm excited to welcome Darlene. Welcome.
I'm here. Sorry, I had to unmute.
That's okay. Welcome, Darlene.
Thank you so much for having me.
Always exciting to catch up with you. Tell us a little bit about what's new happening in Ward 5.
All right. Well, there's always something happening in Ward 5, as you know. But I want to jump right into something you had asked earlier in your email about parking at the Woburn Village, which has always been a pretty hot topic. So back in May and June and July, the City Council was considering a special permit for a daycare facility, which under the Dover Act is really something you can do without a special permit, but because of some requirements of the building with setbacks, they were in front of us. So we had opportunity to condition it. And one of the things that will be happening is an additional 52 parking spaces that will be available for use by Woburn Village after 5 o'clock, Monday through Friday, and on the weekends, which is perfect. Could we use a few more? Well, we've talked about this before. There is parking, but it's quite far away from where most of the restaurants are situated, and people don't want to park far away. So this location is actually, I think, wonderful for the restaurateurs to make their customers happy, for Woburn, so our residents are happier about additional parking. So that will be happening soon. And in terms of the building's not coming down completely. The pagoda is going to be removed and the overhangs will be removed, and then the building will be refurbished from the outside. But the building itself won't be demolished. And we did put some restrictions on movements going out of the facility because, as you know, it can be pretty dangerous to take certain turns out of there if it's not signalized. So that was something I was very happy that we were able to, I will use the word, it happened. So he needed some convincing. They didn't want to do it. But at the end of the day, I think everybody's happy with how this project has been conditioned, and it's going to clean up that spot. And people have asked me for a very long time, what's going on? And given the fact that a daycare, their hours of operation, they don't operate on weekends, I think it's a nice fit. We're not putting another big giant restaurant or a retailer in there. it's a nice balance for what's happening over there. So I'm very excited about that. And hopefully you'll see construction start soon. Gosh, we're looking at spring soon. So
I know, well, this weather makes us feel like we're in spring already, although I know that's teasing us and that we're gonna get cold again.
that's all right. We're
And
used to that.
just to make sure everybody knows what we're talking about the former Chinese restaurant that is sort of adjacent to the Woburn Villages.
Exactly.
And that's wonderful news about having some additional parking when the daycare is not open that people will be able to use and leverage. And a building that's sort of now in disrepair is going to get cleaned up and that space will look nice again. I think is
Yes.
wonderful. So thank
Those
you
are
for
kind words. In disrepair. It's an eyesore. So I'm very happy about it. I'm very happy that the right fit stepped up too, because gosh, what if another grocery store wanted to go there? That would absolutely be the wrong fit, right? But we were very fortunate that these folks thought this was a great place for daycare, which we need more of, and it will help a lot of the folks in the surrounding area. So I think it's a win-win all around, and I'm very pleased with it. I can't wait to see that. We did see pictures and renderings during the public hearings, which I know that they showed on public media, but as the building progresses, I think people will be very pleased, very pleased. And we're also talking with the folks from Edens who own the whole development about some additional pedestrian signage and sidewalks to show people where the parking is. So you might be more inclined to park further away if your path to get there is easier and safer. So we're continuing those discussions, and probably we'll see some plans very soon. So
I think that's great.
Yeah.
And I think I probably don't even know where all the parking is. And, when I drive my car, I have no problem. When I drive my husband's pickup, I will admit, I find it a little bit hard to get around some of the curves and turns. So I would be very happy to park away and get a few extra steps in. For me, that would work. I know that doesn't work for everybody.
Right. It doesn't work for everyone, but at the end of the day, it's, I equate it sometimes to the Linfield shopping, the big shopping plaza in Linfield. Of course, that's a much bigger area, but they often have the same kind of complaints. Well, yeah, there's parking, but if I'm going to Yankee Candle, I don't want to park over at, near Davio's. But so I'm excited that we're going to get some more parking closer to the restaurants, and as things progress, I'll put it in my newsletter and that sort of thing. But so I wanted to address that right away while we're talking. In terms of infrastructure news, the city council recently approved the funding with the help. The mayor sent down money from mitigation at my request for a crossing light at Salem and Bow Street, which had been a topic of conversation for many years, I think, down at the Traffic Commission. And I think we brought it forward back in May. And I have to say I was very pleasantly surprised when I went down to make the presentation that the entire Traffic Commission voted unanimously to do it. I reminded them that it was my responsibility to find the funding, that they didn't need to worry about that. But if you think that we need this, please, let's not keep talking about it. Let's just do something. And after conversations with Mayor Concannon, he sent the mitigation request down lickety split. And it's my understanding that the folks have already been hired who are going to do the plan with the site plan, because you have to have the right lines of sight. It has to be safe, of course. So it's moving forward. And I'm hoping we see that this spring. So
well, that's wonderful progress. And I know,
Darlene,
when we talk to you, we're going to talk about parking and we're going to talk about traffic.
And right? this is what we do. So also on the Washington Street and Washington Circle crossing, now that the MWRA has pretty much finished their work over there, and the funds were approved for that 2 years ago. So again, in my conversations with Mayor Concannon, he's assured me that we will get that moving. And I suppose, it could have been installed before the MWRA work was done, and then we could have required them just to put it back in. That would have been my preference, but that's not how it played out. So I'm excited to see that it's going to happen soon. And then something that has been talked about for quite some time, that I've been in office for a long time. And there is an intersection in this city. You hear a lot of people say, well, this is the worst intersection, this one's the worst intersection, but the intersection at Green and Montvale and Nashua, if you compare the crash data to any other intersection in the city, crashes happen there almost weekly. And for years, we've been sort of beating the drum, and you get it's a big project, we'll have to reconfigure everything. It's time to do something. And it's not part of Ward 5 anymore, but Councilor Papalato and I are going to push this like there's no tomorrow. And I'm happy to announce or say that I know the mayor is very, very familiar with that intersection. He knows how dangerous it is. I really think we're going to make progress. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but I'm hoping we see some sort of plan within the next year, at least a plan to execute, to make it safer over there. It's just, and we do have a lot of bad intersections, but that one, if you look at the data, it's a no-brainer. It's terrible, and we need to address it before something tragic happens. So I'm excited about, again, all things traffic and infrastructure. And if you want to talk about that, I have a long list. I won't bore you with it, but I'd also like to see us get sidewalks in over off of Salem, that small piece of property when you are coming up Salem Street and you take a right to head towards Stoneham, and there's just that little strip of property. If we had a set of sidewalks right there on one side, it would be a connection, so people wouldn't have to cross Salem Street to get to a sidewalk, walk up it, and then cross again. So I'm working on trying to find some pennies.
Well, Darlene, if anybody's going to find pennies for traffic and parking and things, I know it will be you.
You get taxpayers' money. And it's funny, it's interesting you're talking about the trash, right? Earlier with Mayor Concannon, my husband almost came home from work to put the trash out because we were going to be away for a couple of days. He said, I gotta get and then he was halfway home, and he only works in Wilmington. He said, oh, I don't have to do that, it's a holiday. And shame on me, because I usually hang that calendar up in the kitchen, and it wasn't hung up. So I thought, well, it probably is a holiday. And anyway, and I heard the mayor say we're going to be renegotiating our trash contract. And this is something that comes up every couple of years. And when we have our budget meetings, I have consistently said to Jack Freilich and the former mayor before him, the city residents of Woburn, we put up with an awful lot to keep our taxes low, right? We know it's great to have our businesses here, and we embrace them. They've been great to our city. They help keep our taxes affordable. We have to put up with the traffic. It's just part of our life. We should have the Cadillac version of trash collection. That's not
that's not an analogy I've heard before, Darlene.
Well, it's one I've been saying for a long time.
You're making me smile. I will say this. One of the things
we deserve, the residents deserve the best. That's going to be as convenient for them and as important, things, of course, everything to do with our environment is important because we recycle now, but whatever we choose, I hope it's not going to just be about the pennies. It has to be about what's convenient for the residents of the city. They deserve that.
We've been very lucky in Woburn, and and that they take as many bins and as many packages and as much recycling as we use. We know that not all of our neighboring communities do that. So we are very fortunate in that way. And I know my family of 5 that lives at home takes full advantage of that. I don't know where all the garbage comes from, if I'm being honest.
You're
My
young.
family, my family claims it's me, and that when I travel, we don't have a lot. So I don't know. I don't know how true that is, but we definitely
It's
do
all
have.
those Amazon boxes.
Well, that is true. I have a package arriving almost every day, unfortunately. Thank you, Darlene, for joining us as
Oh,
always.
thank you so much. God bless you. Look amazing, by the way. And I'm
Thank you.
keep up the great work that you're doing at City Hall. We're so very lucky to have you.
Oh, I feel very lucky to be here. So
Okay.
thank you for that. I just feel good to have a little bit of hair back here.
You look amazing.
Oh, thanks, Darlene.
All right, I'll talk to you soon.
Up next, Deepali and Priya are going to join me from a really wonderfully important new resource we have in our community. Welcome.
Thank you, Samantha. So happy to be here.
Thank you, Samantha, and thank you, Mayor Concannon, for a warm welcome from the city of Woburn.
Well, we're very excited to have both of you here. Priya, why don't you tell us a little bit about the organization and the important work that you do?
Of course. So as you know, we are Saheli. We serve immigrant survivors of domestic violence, particularly from South Asia and Arab survivors. We have staff that speak various South Asian languages and Arabic, and we provide services through a range of programs, from legal advocacy services to housing services to prevention and outreach work and mental health services. And the core of our programming is, of course, domestic violence advocacy, where we have case managers who work directly one-on-one with survivors as they walk towards on a path towards stability and safety.
Thank you for that. Deepali, tell us a little bit about what brought you to Woburn. I know you've been around for a long time in a neighboring community, but we're happy to have you here now.
So we were in Burlington for 28 years, and we called Burlington our home. As we grew, we needed more services, more space to be able to invite our survivors for support groups. It's just a bigger space. And we also felt Woburn is a very immigrant friendly community. So our next choice to move to a different town was Woburn. And so here we are with Cummings property in the town.
Well, we're sad that you had to have expanded space, honestly. It's sort of a little bit of we're glad you're here. We're glad that we have that. It's unfortunate that the need is growing, not shrinking, but we're grateful for all the hard work that you do. You know, getting out of a domestic violence situation is particularly tricky for many people. Tell us a little bit about, Deepali, why the culturally sensitive resources and the language-based resources are important in a situation like this.
So we provide cultural and language-centric services. As Priya mentioned, we have advocates, and our staff cumulative can speak about 14 different languages between South Asian and Arabic speaking different dialects. Over the years, we have learned that trauma can affect anybody, but when it's under the umbrella of cultural norms, what the survivor goes through between power and control at home is colored by the cultural effects. And we understand the culture. We ourselves are immigrants, so we understand the culture. We understand the language barriers our survivors face, sometimes financial barriers, immigration barriers. So we understand when an immigrant woman is here in a place where she does not know the legal her legal rights, cannot communicate in her language. So we step in as their support structure from a cultural and a language standpoint.
Thank you for that. And I know, Priya, there's an open house coming up. Tell us a little bit about who will be participating in that.
Of course, you know, we welcome the Woburn community to our open house, and the mayor has very gladly accepted our invitation, so he'll be there, and we're looking forward to seeing you as well, Samantha. We'll have a few other Woburn organizations coming in. I know we have someone from Respond coming in as well. We have connected with other nonprofits in the area, like Social Capital Inc. I know someone from there is coming as well. And we have also invited some of the other DV organizations, and the community, the DB community generally. So we're hoping they will be there as well. Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing everybody and hope you get to know more about us and our work.
That's wonderful. And for those who aren't familiar with Respond, they've been on the show, but it's been quite a while since they've been on the show. I'll just remind them they are a domestic violence advocacy and support organization as well. They sit actually part-time in our police station, so they're certainly something we're familiar with. And it's wonderful that you guys will be working together where it makes sense to make a referral to your organization for someone who could use the extra support services you have around specific cultural norms as well as language needs.
Absolutely.
It's wonderful. In general, Deepali, before I let you both go, just wanted to ask you how we as residents of Woburn can help support your mission and make sure that we're doing everything we can to support victims of domestic violence.
First of all, if you know anybody who's going through this, just ask them to reach out to us. All our services are free of cost and confidential. So anybody, even though we call ourselves, we are cultural and language centric, our doors are open to anybody because we understand what a person goes through when they're going through such a trauma, and the children too. So anybody can contact us. And for the Woburn community, just be there for these survivors, listen to them, understand what they're going through them, and just listen to them. That's all I can say, and hear them out. And whenever they're ready to reach out to us, we are here.
I think you raised a really important point, and I'm glad that you mentioned it, that people aren't always ready for help, but knowing help is there allows them to get there in the time and place that works for them. And thank you for reminding us of that, and that we shouldn't get frustrated if someone isn't ready right away. That doesn't mean they won't need or be willing to participate at some point in the future. Thank you both for joining us, and thank you and welcome to the Woburn community. We look forward to the open house and having you here to help serve those who need this. And as always, Woburn, please continue to take good care of each other.